Hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching Conspiracy Sense, where we make sense out of conspiracy theories. Um, where do I begin? So today we're talking about Jade Helm 15. Um, so what this is supposed to be is it's supposed to be a psyops drill, psychological operations. Um, and there was a slide that got released on the internet. That it was a map and it showed, you guys have all seen it, I'm sure. Texas is hostile. I think it was Arizona that was hostile too, or maybe it was New Mexico. In Southern California, what looked to be below Los Angeles was also a hostile area of California, and the rest were either borderline states where maybe they were hostile, maybe they weren't, and or they're permissive states. I think that's how they put it in the slide. And so the slide got leaked, and everyone was freaking out because they're all like, "Oh no, they're gonna come and take the guns, and it's gonna be martial law," and all of this ridiculous stuff that makes real people who actually do research and who actually know what the New World Order is all about makes us look bad. I'm tired of being thrown into the same category as all of these reactionaries who really don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Um, so that's going to be the main focus of this show, is just to slap some sense into people, because people are fucking stupid, and they think that every time something that the government is going to do, it's always going to be doom and gloom, and it's always going to be this terrible apocalyptic scenario, and it's usually not all that. What Jade Helm is supposed to be is it's supposed to be a bunch of these anti-terror units. So I believe it was the 82nd Airborne. It was Delta Force. It was, I think, the Green Berets, as well as the Navy SEALs. So there's a couple hundred of them with a bunch of support staff. Um, and it says that what they're supposed to do is to operate undetected, and to kind of blend in with the civilian population. It is a psyops drill. Um, but it's being it's being portrayed by people within the freedom movement as the cover for a drill that's going to go live, where they actually confiscate all the weapons and they lock everyone up in FEMA camps, and all of this nonsensical retardation. And I just think it's stupid. So let me be very clear, just so, because I know everyone's gonna hate me for this, and I don't really care. But just for the record, FEMA camps are real. Okay, it's not a joke. They're real. I used to live in Colorado. I've seen one of the FEMA camps out there, um, and they're always in places where most people don't go. Usually out in the plains or something like that. They're the real deal. There really are coffins that can hold up to 3, 4, 5 bodies. Big black coffin liners. It's a real thing, and there's also a real plan to intern American citizens. It's called FM3-39.40. If you haven't seen it, pause this. I'll still be here. Go look it up. It's like 300 some pages or something like that. It's on army.mil. You can search for it on their website. It comes right up. It even talks about how we will be processed with our social security numbers and our driver's license numbers. So it's obviously for American citizens. So this, too, is real. There's also a plan to confiscate guns. Anyone in the gun community knows, about the assault weapons ban. They know about, the new sanctions with Russia, banning the importation of things like the Saiga and Russian surplus ammunition, like the 7N6 round, as well as, Soviet bloc spam cans of what used to be really cheap military surplus ammo. Um, So all of these things are done in order to keep us from having guns, and also for political reasons, of course. But it doesn't mean that that's what this drill is about. Um, and an important thing to remember about the gun situation is that um, in Tragedy and Hope, in the first section, Carol Quigley talks about how um, it was relatively easy for us to win the Revolutionary War because we had access to the same weapons that the British had. You know, Brown Bess muskets and mortars and cannons and stuff like that. If we couldn't steal them, we could make them for ourselves. Um, but today, the battlefield of today is full of what he calls specialist weapons. And these specialist weapons are, um, things like, big old howitzers and tanks and aircraft carriers and ICBMs and um, drones and stuff like that. Things like we would never be able to get our hands on stuff like that. As much as I love people in the gun community, and as much as they really are good people for the most part, um, we are very reactionary. And I include myself in this too because I fall into it too. And it's hard not to because um, anyone in the gun community knows, a while back there was the whole craze over banning the green tip 5.56 ammunition. And everyone was going crazy. And it turned out they didn't even ban it. And prices went up tremendously. And we do this stupid stuff to ourselves. And it's almost like they don't even need to ban anything because we handle things in such a reactionary way that we screw ourselves over. And so that's why I want to expose this Jade Helm thing for what it really is, because it doesn't need to be this sort of situation where we just go crazy and we end up exposing our plans, right, to the enemy, because that's what this is. I mean, if you want to be real about it, and people who know what's going on with this quote unquote conspiracy theory stuff, it's real and it's a war. And when you do things like showing your hand to your enemy, what do you think's going to happen? And I think that's one of the purposes of Jade Helm. Let me tell you what it's not going to be. It's not going to be black helicopters coming down from the sky and dropping, Navy SEALs into your neighborhood and, kicking down your door and taking your guns and, locking you up because you're on a list of, people who are considered political dissidents. It's not going to be that, man. And within the freedom movement, there seems to be this sycophantic, just nonsensical, just fantasy of wanting there to be anarchy and wanting there to be this huge fight between the citizens and the police and the military. And I mean, ask anyone who's ever been in combat. That is the last thing you want. I mean, death is a serious thing. I mean, just imagine tomorrow if the power went out. How are you going to cook your food? Yeah, you got some propane, but, I mean, that only lasts for a little bit, right? You're not ready for these things. These people who, are in the whole prepper crowd, and I mean, I'm one of them to a certain extent. They're just ready to go bug out and, go to war with, the United States military. Seems like a bad idea. But they just want to do what they want to do because they think it'll be fun, and they want to go out and, die in a blaze of glory, as if that was even a thing, as if any death was glorious, right? It's stupid. It's immature. And if you want to be part of the freedom movement, you need to get your shit together and stop acting like a child. Um, and I don't care. I know that a lot of you aren't going to like what I have to say, but it's real. Now, let's make sense out of this conspiracy theory, right? Here's probably what it's going to be. And again, no one ever knows, right? And that's kind of the problem with these conspiracy theories is, you know, there's so many little factoids. Um, and they in themselves are true, but since, the government and corporations and these think tanks, they're not going to tell us what's actually going on. And so therefore these things will, be deemed conspiracy theories. So it's up to us to decipher them. So here's what I think is going to happen. Again, this is a psychological operations drill. So another thing to consider is that it's going to be handled by anti-terrorism units. What could an anti-terrorism unit be blending in with the American public for, and moving around undetected? Now, to me, what I think that would look like is, a special ops person dressing in civilian clothes and going out to a gun range. And at the gun range, he meets with some good old boys, and they're out shooting their AR-15s and their AKs and having a good old time. And he comes over to the bench that you're at and is like, "Hey, man, well, I'm really pissed off at what the government's doing right now, and I think that we should really get together and do something about that. Should take our AR-15s and take it to the enemy, and chop it up with them, gain rapport." I mean, anyone who knows anything about counterintelligence knows that really what it's all about is getting the target to trust you, right? And you do that by being friendly, right? By getting them to become more comfortable so that they share more information with you. And if you do that, then they're gonna spill the whole beans because they don't view you as the threat. They're calm, right? And I think what they want to do is they want to gauge the current mind state of freedom-minded individuals. They want to see, kind of like they did in COINTELPRO with the Black Panthers and the Nation of Islam and La Raza and groups like this, they want to gauge and see where our heads are at. And as most of you know, I mean, if you care about politics, it's when you meet someone who also cares about politics, you go off for hours and it's just talking constantly, and you get into a really deep conversation, and that's great. I mean, it's great to meet freedom-minded people who actually know what the fuck they're talking about. That's all great, but the problem is that you aren't really thinking at that time, is this person a Fed? Is this person really on my team? Because anyone can talk about conspiracy theories, and granted, I'm not saying don't go out there and expose these conspiracy theories, because they're things that need to be exposed, right? But we always need to be mindful of tactics used by these types of people to infiltrate, and that is the number one weapon that they have: infiltration. And that's why the civil rights movement didn't lead to more radical change like it should have. And it's also why it's so difficult to start any real revolution now. Because people know about COINTELPRO, um, and because of that, they don't want to risk it, um, because they feel like they're just going to get infiltrated, and that's not the mentality that we should have. We should be thinking, well, okay, I mean, we might get infiltrated, but we need to band together, and we need to make some real groups, and um, we need to start making some changes here, because we can spend our whole lives on YouTube, watching Alex Jones and Alan Watt and Webster Tarpley and gaining all this information, but we might even go out and warn people. But if we're not actually doing something to organize people and, strategically plan out ways to really get our, not only our country, but the future of our species back. Um, and you need to get together, and you need to be organized to do that. I want to make it very clear that, the answer is not to go out and, kill a bunch of cops, or, go out and fight the army of all groups. That's one of the stupidest things you could do. It has to be a mass revolution of consciousness. And we can't be falling into this reactionary behavior of, oh no, it's the end of the world, they're gonna take our guns and blah blah blah, and I mean, if that's what you believe, man, whatever, you're wrong. And don't take it personal, because I used to be the same way. um we gotta think smarter, because these people are very sophisticated. Their order followers may not be very sophisticated, but they're playing from a playbook that is extremely well thought out, strategic, and it's the real deal. While we are over here, screwing ourselves over by buying up all the ammo whenever they might ban something, or connecting dots that don't necessarily need to be connected, like with the whole Walmart thing. Like, supposedly, like, the Walmarts that closed down, there's 5 Walmarts that closed down, and supposedly that's somehow connected to Jade Helm. Like, you're doing too much, man. I mean, just because, you know, Elton John was in a city where a bomb went off doesn't mean that he bombed it. It doesn't make sense. And it's stupid things like that that make, the rest of us who are actually serious about this stuff, makes us look stupid. So I come off as really harsh, and I come off as an asshole. But it's time that we really start taking this seriously, and actually doing something to just stop this stuff, man, because it's gone way too far, and we need to start thinking in terms of chess, because right now we're thinking in terms of checkers, right? We're not being strategic at all. These people think like chess, plain and simple. I mean, Zbigniew Brzezinski's book, The Grand Chessboard, is a perfect example of this. I mean, he's planning things out, 20, 30 years ahead of time. And the things that he was talking about in that book, which I believe was published in 1996, if I'm not mistaken, it's exactly what's happening today. The isolation of Russia, the destruction of all of Russia's partner states, Libya, Syria, Iran, Pakistan, all of these places. It's happening right now. It's all getting destabilized. And say what you want about these globalists and these think tank oligarchs and aristocrats. They're smart people. They really are smart. And it was said in The Art of War, you can't underestimate your enemy. If you do, you're going to be unprepared when you face them. And I don't want to be unprepared, because this is really serious. On the trajectory that we're on right now could lead to the destruction of the human race. So it's important that we don't focus so much on things like Jade Helm, um, but we focus more on, okay, what is their overall plan, right? What can we do to counteract us? Counteract this plan. Um, and that should be the primary focus, not worrying about, you know, oh yeah, they're gonna imprison us and lock us away and take all of our guns and stuff like that. And because if they're gonna do that, they're gonna do it, and there's nothing that you can do to stop it. If they really want to take your guns, they're gonna stack up outside your house, 8 deep. Um, Probably 4 people on your front door, 4 people on your back door, and you know, have backup pointing their guns at you from their car. Might have a sniper on you or something like that. They're gonna kick in your door and they're gonna take your shit, and there's not gonna be a damn thing you can do about it. Yeah, you might be able to shoot one of them, maybe 2 of them, but you're gonna die. Um, and once you're dead, they're gonna assassinate your character. They're gonna make you seem like some crazy nut job, and you know, members of your family aren't even gonna go to your funeral because they're like, "Wow, I can't even believe this guy was like that. I had no idea." Because of the way that the media assassinates your character. And that's the whole point. These people are very, slow and steady wins the race. It's all about incrementalism. Um, and that's why the real way to ban your guns is just slowly, over time, just chip away at it. Oh, well, we had a shooting over here, so now we need to ban, this type of gun. And, oh, well, now some more people died in some other shooting. Now we need to ban this type of gun. Now you can't have a type of gun that has a barrel shorter than this much if it has a stock on it. As if that was any real strategic value. If anything, it makes you less accurate. And it's stupid, and we know that, but it doesn't mean that, it's something that we should just discard. you know it's in the way that they do things that's important. Happens very slowly over a long period of time. um, I just got into this stuff when I was a senior in high school, and that was almost 4 years ago. And just thinking about how much things have changed since then, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, since then, the NDAA has gone into effect. We've gone into Libya, Egypt, Syria. We went back into Iraq. Greece is going under. Italy and Portugal and Spain, they're all next. Who knows when America's going to go? We don't have long, though. They can keep us floating for as long as they want to. But, I mean, think about how much things have changed in the past 3 years and compare that to how much things have changed since 9/11. I remember 9/11. I was in second grade. And they sent us all home from school early. And since then, I mean, think about it, we have this massive police state. I mean, we even have to worry about things like Jade Helm 15. It's just gotten to the point where it's just way too much. Going into war with all of these countries, and the complete duopoly of every facet of any sort of corporation. You got Coke, you got Pepsi, and both of them own prisons. Look it up. I mean, how's that for some crazy ass shit? And it's ridiculous. It's gotten to the point where it's completely out of control, and we need to start doing something about this. And I'm the type of dude that I dedicate probably far more time than I should to this, and I do have a pretty good understanding of it, and I can actually articulate it pretty well. So that's why I wanted to start this channel, and again, the goal is to make sense out of these conspiracy theories, because they are valid, certainly by themselves. For instance, there are FEMA camps, right? There's FEMA camps. It's a real thing. Now, does that mean that we're all gonna get lassoed into FEMA camps tomorrow? Probably not. But the whole point of this is just to wake people up and to really just get together with people and to really start uniting, because there's so many separate factions that want different things, and they have similar ideologies, but they're very different at the same time. Like, you have, the Tea Party, and then you have the progressive radical left, right? Both groups of people know that the government is corrupt, right? How could you not? And both of them know that, things have gone way too far. They see things out of different paradigms. But if we don't unite, neither one of our sides are going to get what they want. So it's important that we stop beefing about stupid, petty little issues. And focus on, hey, let's look at the broader picture. Let's look at how we've all been manipulated, and let's do something to fix that. And maybe during that process, we will actually find some more common ground with one another. And it's once we reach that point, that's really what they're trying to avoid at all costs. And that's why they keep us divided with these stupid little wedge issues. Like the Confederate flag, or transgendered people. Like, man, who gives a fuck? I mean, read Brzezinski's books. I read The Grand Chessboard. It makes everything make sense. We are on a trajectory right now that leads to an inevitable World War III scenario. And they have all kinds of contingency plans, continuity of government plans, preparing for that day. That is extremely important. Far more important than if you're a transgendered person and you want to marry a fucking hippo. Like, what? Like, come on, dude. Like, none of this shit matters. So while you're over here beefing with the next man because, he doesn't like guns and you do, neither one of you have realized that, we're all living through a eugenics-based system. And it's taken over healthcare. It's taken over the agricultural industry. It's taken over all of science. And we're living through it right now. And then we wonder why breast cancer is out of control. Kids are all fucked up in the head because of, autism, things like that, Asperger's, why sperm counts are dropping. Really? And you wonder why, people are so fucked up in the head thinking that they're transgendered or whatever. It's because of all the hormones in the water. Did you ever think of that? Probably not. And that's the problem. So anyway, that's basically the types of things that we're going to be covering on this show. I didn't actually mean for this to be my first episode, but I guess it is. So, like it, subscribe to it, because it's really important that we, subscribe to people and like people, whether you agree with them completely or not. But we all need to be on the same team. We all need to collaborate together, and really get the information out so that it can reach everyone. So I'm gonna keep putting up videos, keep doing my thing. Again, I'm new to this uploading YouTube stuff. So if you have any suggestions, anything that you want to see, leave me some comments below. I'll probably respond to them, unless you send me some ignorant dumb shit, then fuck you. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Peace out, everybody. And keep fighting the good fight, and we will see you next time here on Conspiracy Sense.